brother are traveling together in France. They are both on summer vacation from college. One night, they are staying alone in a cabin near the beach. They decide that it would be interesting and fun if they tried making love. At the very least, it would be a new experience for each of them. Julie is already taking birth control pills, but Mark uses a condom too, just to be safe. They both enjoy it, but they decide not to do it again. They keep that night as a special secret between them, which makes them feel even closer to each other. So, what do you think about this? Was it wrong for them to have sex as brother and sister?
It's a very interesting scenario. I think that there's a lot of factors.
Well, personally, I would never do that.
Personal thoughts on the situation, or that's very odd to do, and I think that I understand why it's a taboo.
Why do you think it's taboo?
I feel like it's kind of mostly probably a basis in growing up religious, and the fact that like that's kind of more of, not exactly, I don't want to call it sacred, but like a reserved act for people. Well, yeah, I don't know how to word it the right way, but it's kind of not for brother and sister.
Okay.
If you understand what I mean.
And do you think that sort of the feeling of uneasiness that happens when people talk about this or hear about this sort of thing, do you think that uneasiness is enough to be against something like this? Or does it have to be a specific actual reason?
I feel like people make decisions on less, so I think that uneasiness is enough to make it taboo, and I think society holds a great power over people in their beliefs, so I think that once we all kind of decide that it's taboo, it's kind of, you know, but the thing is who decides it, and that's a whole nother question. And I think also in the wording of the question of wording it as making love, I feel like that's kind of more like, instead of just having sex, I feel like there's a difference between the two, like, and I feel like that's more important in a way, and as like brother and sister, I feel like that's something that should not happen. I also do think like the fact that they're not having or planning to have a child is important also, just because like the genetics of it, being kind of like a science person, that's also important, because incest and childs born out of incest are very just messed up, and that's not right to bring a child into this world knowing that there's some medical problems.
But
They
were
are
using
right, exactly. So
birth
like that's
control.
why I'm having less of an issue with this, because they don't intend on having a child, at least from that encounter. They don't want to do it again. I guess that would affect some people's view on whether or not this is wrong.
So does that make it, does that just make it okay since they're not having a child?
It makes me uneasy, but I don't really personally have a problem with it because they're not really harming anyone doing this. It's personal preference, I guess. It's not affecting me.
So do you think it morally affected either Julie or Mark?
Oh, I don't think, yeah, I mean, like, I mean, I think a lot of this is like cherry picking with the whole, like, with the whole love is love movement. You know, I think to say that, like, if a brother and sister love each other, that's how they want to show affection for each other. Like, can't cherry pick and say you can do this, but you can't do that. For me, personally, like, I don't really, like, as long as they're not, like, talking about it in front of me and stuff, whatever they want to do on their own time is their private, that's their personal thing.
Okay.
It makes me feel weird. I don't really like to think about these things because it is a very weird situation.
So would you say you feel, as far as like disgusted by it, or it's just, you know, a mild sense of revulsion?
Mild sense of revulsion.
Okay.
As long as, like, in this sense. If it were happening right in front of me, I think I'd be way more disgusted by it.
That could change in the future.
I think it could. I mean, it would have to be an incredibly powerful shift, but I don't know. I feel like also the leaning towards science more these days, and the basis in that might, unless it's, well, in that situation, they're not having kids, so I can't see a problem with that. With there could be a shift.